Toronto Marlies split their home and home last weekend against Rochester, and this weekend, well, it was really no different. After splitting the home and home against Rochester, the Marlies had a full work week of practices, a day of development, an off day, and the rest of the week to get down to business to be ready for Grand Rapids this weekend. In the midst of all that, and with Victor Mete up with the Maple Leafs, the Marlies signed NHL veteran Danny DeKeyser to a PTO to bring some experience to that back end.
I took it as a chance to keep playing, and it was an opportunity to just get some more games under me and, kind of see what happens from there.
Also rejoining the team was Mikhail Abramov, who began the week in a red jersey, finished off the week of practices in a gray jersey. I'm not sure what that means, but it does tell me that he's full contact now and he could be ready to get in some game action very soon. Speaking of injuries, the Marlies did announce a few over the weekend, and they are as follows. Bobby McMahon is week to week with a lower body injury. Both Max Ellis and Ryan Chizowski are day to day with lower body injuries per Saturday's lineup, so that could have changed. And then, as we know still, Joseph Woll with a shoulder injury. The timeline for him is unknown at this point. But going back to the Marlies team as a whole, they played a back-to-back at home this weekend against Grand Rapids, and we're going to talk about it very quickly. So the Marlies took the first game 4-1. Alex Steeves had a hell of a game, scoring 2 goals. Both Logan Shaw and Joey Anderson tallied 3 assists in this one. It was a very good game for the Marlies and some of their best hockey that I've seen them play in a long time. Noel Hoffenmeyer opened up the scoring with a wicked slap shot. I think there are high hopes for him going into the future, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but he had a really good goal as well. Keith Petruzzelli played a hell of a game, stopping 16 of 17 shots. Just looking at the 2 games he's played now with Shalgren up and Woll injured, it seems like he's going to get a majority of the starts, but looking at his minutes, 120 minutes, 41 saves, a 1 goals against average, and a .953 save percentage. That's got to have him feeling good early on in the season, especially at the AHL level. Looking at the Marlies' second game, though, it wasn't really the best of sorts. They started slow. They couldn't really find their rhythm. Joey Anderson got a few goals to get the Marlies sort of in the game, but they couldn't find anything else as they lost to Grand Rapids 5-2. Dylan Ferguson had a tough game as well in net. He allowed 4 goals on 25 shots, and he has had a rough go in the first few games of the season in the AHL. As you can see, 2 games, 6 goals against, a .411 goals against, and an .813 save percentage. It's not looking the best for him right now. There's always the chance that, though, that turns around and he finds his rhythm at the AHL level like it looks like he has in the past with Henderson and Chicago. So again, the Marlies split the 2 home games this weekend, winning the first one, losing the second one. They have one more game at home at Coca-Cola Coliseum this week against the Syracuse Crunch on Wednesday, and that's where they're going to have to find their rhythm, because after that they go on a long road trip where they play a lot of games. So that's going to need to be a game on Wednesday where they find the win and they can go off on the road trip on a good note. Looking at the stats, though, there are a few guys on this team who have had great starts to the season. First off, obviously, Alex Steeves, 4 goals, 4 games. He's on pace for 72 goals this season. He has 6 points in those 4 games, which is very good. He's been very, very good early on this season. Joey Anderson as well. 3 assists in the first game, 2 goals in the second game, which gives him the 5 points in 4 games. He's been a great leader so far and a great player for this Marlies team throughout the past 2 weeks. Logan Shaw as well has been very effective early on, and you can tell that he is going to be a player that this Marlies team leans on for this entire season. Mac Hollowell put up a quiet 3 points in the 4 games so far. I haven't really seen much of him on the offense, but he is one of the quarterbacks of the power play units, so he is getting his time, he is getting his touches, and he's been playing well. And finally, we have Nick Abruzzese and Semyon Dargachintsev. Abruzzese got his first AHL goal in the first game against Grand Rapids of the weekend. He has 2 points in the 4 games. That's pretty decent. And Semyon Dargachintsev as well has 2 points. He's been a key player that Greg Moore has leaned on in these past few games. In last night's game against the Grand Rapids Griffins on Sunday, Dargachintsev was on the ice with the empty net. He has been relied upon a lot, again, by Greg Moore, and he's going to continue to be relied upon as the season gets further and further down the line. He's a good player for this Marlies team, and he's going to be an incredibly important one for the rest of this season. Now that we're going to answer some questions on Twitter. Every Monday, I ask what you guys want to know about the Toronto Marlies. You send in questions, and I try to answer them to the best of my abilities. From Kyle Cushman, with multiple forwards out of the lineup either due to recalls or injuries, who do you think has the biggest opportunity to take advantage of a spot higher in the lineup that wouldn't normally get that chance? The one player who I think is going to take the opportunity and run with it is Graham Slager. He played alongside Notre Dame teammate Alex Steeves this past weekend and Pontus Holmberg. He looked very good with them as well. He's an interesting player who's very good in the two-way. He has some offensive bite. He has some great stuff in the defensive zone as well. I'm looking to see if he can really prove himself on a line with these two. He showed it early on. The second game was a little bit different, a little bit more difficult, but I'm looking to see if he stays with these two players on Wednesday, and whether or not he does, he can make a big impact on the weeks to come. If there was any forward pick that I'd have to get a contract by the end of the season, similar to the ways Curtis Douglas and Bobby McMahon did last year, I'm going to say it's Graham Slager. Put money on it now, Graham Slager. Aiden asks, do you see Noel Hoffenmeyer becoming an everyday player with the Marlies? What are your thoughts about putting him on the power play? I'm going to be honest with you, I was a big fan of Hoffenmeyer early on last season when he came into this Marlies team. He had a lot of offensive game. He was pretty decent in the defensive zone as well, but he just couldn't find the points. He has a really, really good shot, and when he gets that shot off like we saw in Saturday's game, it can be a very good one that can beat a lot of goalies. It's just when he gets those opportunities, he needs to take advantage of them. He needs to hit the net, and that's what he struggled with last year, and maybe this year it's going to be a little bit different. I'd really like to see him stay on this Marlies team, and especially if he got going offensively, I think there's a full opportunity that he could stay. It's just, again, the depth of this Marlies defense. Once Victor Mete comes back, if Jordy Ben ever comes down, they've got a stacked decor already with Philip Krall, Mac Hollowell, Marshall Rafai, William Villeneuve, and then you look at some other players, and it's just really difficult, and I think he could become an everyday AHLer. It's just going to be up to him and up to his play and whether or not he can stay consistent getting points, because I think that's one of his strong suits, and again as well, how the Marlies D shapes up. If any players come down, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for him to stay there. Leafs in 6 News asks, once healthy, is Woll the Marlies starter, or is Shalgren if in the AHL, or Petruzzelli the #1 man? Now this is based on solely what I think, but if Joseph Woll is fully healthy and he comes back to the Marlies lineup and Eric Shalgren comes back down from the Maple Leafs, they'll share the crease. They will get games each other and they will play similar to how Keith Petruzzelli and Dylan Ferguson are playing right now. One guy gets one game, the other guy gets the other game. They might lean on Petruzzelli a little bit more right now just because of how he's playing, but the majority of the time they would share the net, and that's what would happen with Eric Shalgren and Joseph Woll once they both return. And once that happens, Petruzzelli, in my opinion, is going to go back down to Newfoundland and share the net there with Dryden McKay. But again, that's all really at this point up in the air because Shalgren is up with the Maple Leafs. Who knows how long he'll be up there, and I'm not sure of the timeline with Joseph Woll. So as of right now, Petruzzelli to me is the #1 guy on this Marlies team. And last but not least, from Sid, Steeves and Rubens were Marlies who made their debuts last year. Who do you think currently on the Marlies roster could make their debut with the Leafs this year? At this point, one of the only players that could make their debut in my memory that I'm thinking of right now would be Bobby McMahon. I'm not sure if there's any others, maybe William Villeneuve, but that's really a little bit further away than this season. But Bobby McMahon could be the one. He's, again, injured at this point, so that might be a little bit further down the road, maybe into January or February if injuries rack up. But the next player that I think will get called up in general is probably Alex Steeves. Again, he has 4 goals in his first 4 games, 6 points. There's a lot of good things that Alex Steeves was doing in training camp with the Maple Leafs. There's a lot of good things he's doing right now with the Marlies. So if there is anyone that is going to get the call up next, if there are injuries in the future, to me, it's got to be Alex Steeves. His defensive game, his offensive game, he's throwing the body around a lot more. He's getting shots off. The shot is what he's best at. He's got that. When he throws his body around as well, he's just a freight train coming at you with all the speed and weight, throwing the body. I think he would be the next one if the Leafs needed a forward. But that is going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like. Comment down below as well what your thoughts are for this series, what you think I could do differently, what you'd like to see again, all in the comment section down below. And as always, if you really enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe because that helps me know that you like the video. So again, thank you so much for watching. The Marlies have a game on Wednesday and then they're off on a road trip. So there'll be another Marlies Monday next Monday. So stay tuned for that. Maybe there's a video this week on the Leafs. We'll see. But again, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.